As always, you've raised some very stimulating points, and I will definitely come back to you in the question-answer session to take you on. It was music to my ears that CPT and CPM and all should not just be the only measure. Now, to go on to the head of the largest media buying group in India, Group M, Vikram Sakhuja. Vikram, Saugata has raised some very interesting points. He's also talked about a clear direction of co-creation, partnership, driving consumption, and so on. From the media agency perspective or a media person's perspective, what is your view on this? Are there any differences in your point of view?
Okay. Firstly, no differences, but what I'm going to be saying is going to be pretty anachronistic in today's very futuristic conference. I've also, I think from the panel, I'm probably the only one who's been there right from the beginning. So I've been hearing a lot of things, including what Saugata is saying right now. The topic of this panel seems to be in the light of changing marketer and consumer sort of expectations or dynamics. How do we realign media to meet expectations, whatever that might mean? We've been hearing a couple of things. India's biggest marketer, Nitin Paranjpai, he came this morning and said, change is the only constant. He says, whatever it is, that don't use your past to sort of predict how you should be doing in the future. For example, the 30-second commercial might die the way we know it in a few years from now. I mean, he was giving future shocks like that. We had Dominic, who was again talking about this entire paid, owned, earned, which Saugata was also talking about, whether you have your co-creation, you own your own assets. This Mike, after Dominic talked about how this entire piece of earned actually gets monetized in the social sense. So we got a lot of the paid, owned, earned piece. We got the entire thing about how we need to increasingly build engagement and stuff. The digital part has been ubiquitous in just about every conversation today, that digital is going to take over. And actually, and I am one of the proponents of that as well. We also talked about how, I think this is also came out in Dominic's presentation, of how advertising or media agencies can become the integrator role, which also was the last point that Saugata was talking about, which is that we'll need one lead partner to hold all our sort of constituents together. There's also this entire piece about vast amounts of data being generated thanks to the digital ecosystem and the ability to harness that. You know, there be these lovely futuristic thoughts, and I can't agree more with any of them. But I am one of those here and now basic guys here. If I have to look at media today, these are things in the future, and yes, we have to get ourselves future ready for that. But what I think is right now ailing us is a tremendous amount of wastage. I really want to talk about media right now, that as we go and embrace all these great concepts that we are talking about, it has to be done under two lenses. One has to be this lens called reviewing strategic trade-offs, and the other one is this lens called, I know it's a cliche, but are we seeing marketing as a cost or an investment? And let that sink in for that 5 seconds that it needs to. But whatever we might call it an investment, we behave like it's a cost. And choosing the lowest price inventory is a sort of testimony to that, or a manifestation of that. Now, from a trade-off standpoint, I think we've now resorted to lazy marketing. Time and again, we are just seeing share of voice or just high impact creative innovation on front pages of leading dailies as being the norm to break clutter. Somewhere along the line, I think we have to start getting away from share of voice and actually start understanding that consumers buy our products 52 weeks of the year. So do we really need to actually move from share of voice to effective frequency? Do we actually need to move from 4 to 5 campaigns a year to 52 weeks of advertising? Do we actually need to start looking at our priority 1, 2, 3 markets slightly differently? Everybody I know does a P1, P2, P3. But how tangibly different are the plans between a priority 1 and a priority 3 market? According to me, very simply, in the clear metro markets, you got to do metro-based planning. You got to do integrated plans for Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Calcutta, Chennai, whatever. These must have plans of its own. These integrated plans have to be multimedia. They also have to be fused together to come out with one cohesive plan which reads as one sort of seamless plan rather than a multimedia plan comprising one TV, one print, one radio. Sorry, is that me or somebody else? In the context of this entire treating metros at one level, I strongly believe that mass marketers need to take 5 to 10% of their budgets and put it into rural and invest in it for 3 years to make sure that the returns from that start coming and this entire growth that we are talking about gets taken to a new level. So, I think there are some trade-offs, and I've just talked about 3, and I hope it spurs up a conversation or a discussion. But I would really say that at some point in time, yes, we should go and try to stretch reach, but there's a qualifier on that. We shouldn't treat all markets the same. We should definitely have segmentation at a market level, and for metro markets, we should definitely be doing a totally different kind of integrated planning, city-level planning, rather than mass market planning. The shotgun approach will not work anymore. It has to be the rifle approach that we have to take as we move to plans. Make them more hardworking. Effective frequency over share of voice. I'm being prescriptive here, but I actually think that, or effective frequency or even recency at decent levels. Now, all these things I'm talking about are 30-year-old principles. So to some extent, I'm saying it is, before we take that great leap forward into all the land of lovely stuff that you heard in the morning, I think we should take a step back and get back to basics. I'll stop for now. I had another part about not treating media as a cost but as an investment, but after Raj.
Thank you, Vikram, and as always, you've made some very impressive points. I'm sure in the discussion we'll come back to that. And but before that, we'd like to hear Raj. It was no surprise to me that Raj landed up heading colors, because there is no more colorful personality than Raj. And he is one person who absolutely knows the maximum number of marketeers, advertisers, and people in media and agencies. So it'll be very interesting to get your point of view on this, Raj.
I was scared by Vikram, but I agree with Vikram on one thing when he says futuristic is all fine, and look at the way we've evolved. I mean, a few years back, we didn't know there would be a Google, there would be an iPad. I think we will evolve. One is to be futuristic ready, one is to be here and now, and I agree with you, here and now. I haven't prepared any notes, so I was just listening to this distinguished gentleman, and Sugata's one thing actually struck a chord with me. You said the milkman and the newspaper man. We do a lot of research at Colors, and one of the things that we've seen that's changing is when we do research, and we just don't go and ask whether you buy this product or you're not buying this product. The research that we do goes far deeper in understanding the value systems, understanding their 24-hour lifestyle behavior and things like that. And the thing that struck me is a lot of research that we do in the broadcasting industry, especially in the GC area, the people we speak to are the same people you speak to. Okay? So is there an opportunity for us to come together and, because you're spending money on research, we are spending money on research, there's a huge opportunity there for us to do syndicated research where we could share the cost. Because when I was in the news business, one of the things we spoke about sharing the cost for OB vans. But here I think there is an opportunity. I don't know whether companies like Marico will be open to an idea like that, but it's the same thing, identifying synergies and trying to get value out of it. Another thing that was music to my ears was, you said Facebook, 65 million, more the combined circulation of all publications. Okay, I have nothing against publications. But how much money do you spend as a company on the internet? Because on one side you said it's more than the combined circulation of newspapers, and on the other side you said it's fashionable, it's part of the KPA to, say I've allocated X% into digital advertising. I mean, there's a dichotomy there. Okay, because why do marketeers then not spend money on the digital medium if actually they believe it reaches out to more number of people? One of the things we've noticed, and India is a young country, one of the things we've noticed is we do a lot of reality shows, whether it is Big Boss or whether it is India's Got Talent or Khatrun Ka Khiladi. And one of the things we've noticed is there's a lot of young audience that comes in there, young audience. And these people are multitasking. Okay? And I think the new consumer today, and I'll again digress a little bit. In terms of one of the research that we came across is the way the consumer behavior is evolving. Earlier when a woman went into a house, she got married, there were actually three things which I noted down here was the newly married, the married with the kids, and the older people. Okay? And earlier what used to happen is when a girl got married, when went into a household, the mother-in-law held the keys. After a few years probably she got the keys to the cupboard and things like that. Today it's changing. It's changing tremendously. A girl gets married, probably she runs the house. It's happening to a large extent. The other thing that's also happening is, I think decision-making process is changing tremendously. Today, I know for sure, and in my house, my daughter Samira is the style guru for her mother. The mother asks her, what should I buy? And I know a lot of fathers ask their children what cell phone they should be buying, when earlier it would have probably been the father telling the son what to buy. These are some of the things. But again, coming back to digital and thing, with this talent shows, one of the things we have seen, today's consumer wants to engage. He wants to be a part of something where he has a role either in decision making, opinion making, or engaging with the thing. And that's one of the things we ran an IVR for Khatron Ka Khiladi with Akshay Kumar. We had 8 lakh people who came and engaged with it. Okay, today on YouTube we have a channel. It's called colors.youtube.com. It's India. Not only, let me make this statement, not only are we India's #1 channel in prime time, but we're also India's #1 channel on YouTube. We have 22 million video views with 100,000 subscribers. And I think, and it's not only Colors, I'm sure Star and Sony and everybody are doing it, but what I'm saying is, you have to today look beyond one medium, and you need to try and see how do you build synergies, whether it's the mobile, whether it's the internet, whether it's any other medium. I think that will happen more and more, because you sit in a room today, and I'm sure most of you who have children would have noticed today they're watching TV, they're speaking on the mobile phone, they're on the internet, doing everything at the same time. And that's happening. And we only think this is an urban phenomenon. Actually, I've traveled to some of the interior parts of India, and lifestyle is changing like nobody's business. And when Vikram says tier 2 and tier 3 markets, I think consumers aren't doing enough to address those markets.
Thank you, Raj. Thanks for those interesting observations, and it's quite clear that that Raj is a quintessential salesman, and the deep need for him to sort of make that does not go away, and that's why we get all those exciting, interesting views from him. Saugata, coming back to you, you made a very interesting point that in the context of innovations and stuff, that you can't worry about CPMs and so on and so forth. You've got to look beyond that if you want to do bigger things. I hear many clients say this, but in my observation in the last 24, 25 years in this business, many of them say it, but when you actually come to, when the rubber has to hit the road in that sense, then they all want to go back, but how many audience will I get? Is this cost effective? Is this not? So I see that there is a difference between what they say and what they finally do. Are you saying that's going to change, or is your view that that's of the past and going forward that'll be different?
See, I think there are two things. One is, as I said, and I think Raj has also spoke about it, is that today the new age consumer is going to have a multiple media of consumption. So therefore, what I spoke about is an idea has to be media neutral, and therefore the way you are going to communicate has to be a multiple media or a 360-degree kind of a thing. It's not about just going a television plan. Number two, so therefore, yes, I think for the mass media, obviously, if television is going to give you X% of reach, you still do a significant portion of your investment, which is will be used, the CPT or the CPRP will be used as a media. But what is important is you don't judge what you do just by that, but what you judge is that what is any communication, anything has done in terms of engagement and what kind of long-term brand equity scores which has moved. Unfortunately, what has happened is in today's world that, and this is a plain fact and which you can't change, is that everybody who does a role today, unfortunately in marketing, looks at a very short term because he or she is handling the brand or this one for 1 or 2 years. So the long term equity in terms of KPIs is not something which